As many of you have no doubt heard already, something significant broke in the most recent update, and I'm kinda shocked that I didn't notice it, but then on reflection, looking through the battles I played in Early Access, none of them were actually with the affected units. What am I talking about here? Well, certain Monstrous units have had their splash attacks broken, specifically like Monstrous Infantry and Cavalry. Obviously not all of them. Some are unaffected, some have actually been positively affected by this change, like what is it? All the units riding the Juggernauts, basically, for Khorne. But for the Ogres and for a few other factions, many Monstrous Infantry and Cavalry are completely broken. Things like these Crushers here, and Warbear Riders as well. Now, Stormrunner, the submitter of this replay, and the Green Tide might not have known about this bug when he played and submitted this replay. We are going to watch the whole thing and kind of see how it affects the outcome of the battle. I should note immediately, Creative Assembly has already announced they're working on hotfix and should have something out next week before they leave for holiday, which is definitely great news. For the time being, we're going to be looking at some unusual battles, but yeah, somehow, like, all the replays I fought featured relatively little Monstrous Infantry outside of, you know, key Ogre units, which is kind of surprising, to be honest. But anyway, what are these builds here before they clash? We've got a front line of Savage Orc Biggins with their new emblem here. We've got some Bolt Throwers and some Savage Orc Boar Boy Biggins, and the regular Boar Boy Biggins as well, the Broken Tusk Mob. At least Wolf Riders, Squig Hoppers, and that's basically it. Very interesting build, pretty all-in, love it, to be honest. We're going to see how these Pigback Riders do in melee against the unarmored Savage Orcs. We've got some of them, we've got regular Gnoblars, Blood Vultures swooping in on the side, Saber-Tusked Pack, and some Mournfangs, plus Crushers, with the Slaughtermaster of the Great Maw. Let's get things rolling. Yeah, we'll watch these Savage Orcs as they clash. Doesn't look like this Pigback got a direct charge onto them. This Pigback also kind of falling back in general, not wanting to eat the charge of the Savage Orcs, even though they are largely going to anyway. At the same time, those Blood Vultures are also swooping down, taking out the Bolt Throwers as the Cavalry starts to develop its attack here. Yeah, Savage Orc Biggins in the front line, not getting countercharged by the Pigback Riders. They end up just absolutely mopping on this melee engagement. I mean, they're completely unchallenged by the Gnoblars and the Pigbacks. Yeah, I would have liked to have seen the Pigbacks countercharge there, just to see how much damage they do. I'd imagine they probably still lose, but they'd probably do some pretty good damage on the countercharge. Who knows, maybe the ROR could actually win if they get a good charge, but at the same time, Savage Orc Biggins also have very good charge for infantry. So, yeah, you see here that the Mournfangs, everything else, are able to close and shut down Wolf Riders. Not really surprising, but at the same time, like, a lot of the damage for the Wolf Riders probably actually comes from the birds there. If we take a look at the Cavalry here, Mournfangs only 4 damage value there, 95 damage value there, and the Sky Striders Regiment are now up to a cool, oh no, those are the Blood Vultures here. The Sky Striders, if I can get their card to stay, 56. So, yeah, not great so far. Let's see now, they're engaged with Squig Hoppers. This is definitely an engagement they should absolutely carry and demolish. And, yeah, I mean, they're definitely doing attack animations, but don't seem to be doing nearly as much damage as you might think, right? I mean, this is a relatively cheap, low-cost light cavalry, low HP, and the Mournfangs are just not really doing anything. I'm actually not 100%. Mournfangs might not be affected. It might just be the Crushers. But let's see here. We'll watch the Mournfang's value as they fight. Yeah, that unit really not doing a ton. This unit here impacts, moves along. Again, not really doing anything. And the Crushers check in once more. Sky Striders, yeah, not really. Yeah, only 97 gold value there. So, not looking great. Again, matched up against the Spider. They're anti-large AP. This should be a pretty ideal target, although the Spider is doing a lot of damage in return, as are these Savage Orc Biggins. But I guess a lot of the models did charge through onto Broken Tusk Mob. Okay, anti-large Cav versus anti-large Cav. This is a pretty ideal fight for the Ogre units. We'll get in close, let's watch some cinematics, and then check the value after a second to see how they're performing. And this unit got terrified away. Didn't fight for very long. Still only about 300 value there. Sky Striders, yeah, 250 value. So, That's not great, and I am wondering, honestly, in hindsight, maybe Blood Beasts were being affected by this, actually, in hindsight. I mean, their damage isn't amazing, and their stats are pretty mediocre even still, but I never really saw them get more than 500 value, and so I'm wondering if maybe they also just were affected significantly by this bug. I mean, these Sky Striders are also getting terror routed here. They didn't maybe get the best engagement, but there were a few times we saw there where both the Mornfang Cav and the Crushers engaged 1v1 versus targets they should be getting a lot of damage against, but they just weren't, right? That's part of this this bug that's been investigated, reported on by various members of the community. You can find other videos about it as well. But, you know, here we like to show things in a live battle context and definitely demonstrate that this is a significant problem, even if, you know, credit to Stormrunner, he's playing this relatively well, getting some good engagements, like these Mornfangs getting absolutely surrounded. Not that they would have won this, don't get me wrong, but definitely would have helped in some engagements at least. It would have been a little bit closer, because as it is right now, things are looking pretty grim for the Ogres. One Mornfang making one last attack here. Pigback Riders also charging on in, but the Savage Orc Vegans, I don't think they had any buffs or anything. I mean, they've always been pretty good in this matchup, to be honest. Definitely that hasn't changed, and just a lot of anti-large in general. Stormrunner here is able to carry the day. A little bit of bugged anti-large from the Ogres. Not ideal, but a pretty good demonstration of, yeah, all of these units are like below 500 or about 500 value. It's pretty similar, actually, to the performance of some other, maybe, Monstrous infantry. Again, I need to maybe check, do some testing if the Blood Beasts actually are performing similarly. But in general, it's definitely going to affect Ogres probably the most, but other factions as well, like Lizardmen, I think, are significantly affected. Yeah. Overall, Savage Orc Biggins, like I said, solid option here for sure. The Savage Orc Boar Boys, though, you can see just feasted in that cavalry engagement against those big cavalry on the opposite side that can't really do anything. Blood Vultures, awesome unit, definitely a great addition, still performing well as ever. Pigback Riders also, one still does manage to pretty much pay for themselves, I guess two. So still can be a very solid option for sure, definitely threatening in some ways when Noblar also pays for themselves, which is nice to see in light of everything. But yeah, some units just to quickly run through that have been reported. You know, Warbear Riders, Plague Ogres, both variants of Croc Scores, Crushers, Kadai Fireborn. War Lions of Trace also have been affected. Fiends of Slanesh, Trolls, Rat Ogres. Again, not an exhaustive list, but especially the Rat Ogres makes me think that potentially Blood Beasts are affected by this as well. It remains to be seen, but they, given their, like, very lackluster performance, even given their, like, stats too, right? Stats are not great, but it seems like maybe there was something else more going on, potentially. Definitely look for that hotfix in the coming week. In the meantime, I've got replays to show you guys that should be relatively unaffected, and a little bit of some fun, kind of different stuff anyway. So hopefully you enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.